Planning to travel with your drone? In today's video, I go through everything you need to know when traveling with your drone, so stick around. Hello and welcome to LegalDrone, where we talk about drones and other tech stuff. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. So before we begin, I need to tell you that this video is only intended for travelers within the United States. So the second thing is that you need to check always with your airline for their rules and policy for flying with your drone. And finally, if you're traveling to fly your drone in another place, you always need to check local regulations because states can regulate drones, and I made a video about that you can click on the YouTube card and watch it later. So I will talk about a lot of things, but if you want to skip to the part on how to store your batteries when traveling, you can go to this time in the video where I will start talking about that. So recently I traveled to the continental US. I'm from Puerto Rico, so in order to go to the continental US, I need to take a plane. As in US territory, the rules that applies to Puerto Rico in terms of TSA checkpoints are the same that applies to United States. Now, I do need to point out that every TSA checkpoint is different, even though it's supposed to be uniform because that's how it's supposed to work. It is not. Every airport and every checkpoint has their own personnel, and that personnel treats travelers differently. So I normally travel from Puerto Rico, so I know how that TSA checkpoint treats travelers, so I know what to expect in terms of how rough they are on the travelers. And I noticed this because when I travel to other places and I have to come back, I you can notice the difference on how different checkpoints treats people. The other thing is that these will apply whether you are traveling as a pre-check or global entry traveler or not, because the only difference between global entry or TSA pre-check and not having it is that you don't need to take off your shoes or your belt, or you don't have to take everything out of the bag. You can leave them on the bag when going through the checkpoint. But how to store and the limits that are the same whether you are or not a pre-check traveler. So TSA defer the drone policy to airlines. Most of the airlines don't have a specific drone policy, but they do have batteries policy as well as TSA have. So one thing that you need to understand about TSA battery policy, specifically the lithium ion battery policy, is that they divide the batteries into two groups: the 100 watt hours or less of output with the more than 100 watt hours of output batteries. So if you are on the 100 hours or less watt hours output batteries, they only say that you can take them in your carry-on and that you need to check with your airlines about the limits that you can have on these batteries. The other type of batteries that are the 100 watt hours or more is that they allow you and they have a limit. Also, you can put one in your equipment, and you can take one if it's less than 300 watt hours, or you can take two spare batteries if it's less than 160 watt hours of output. But every airline does have their own set of rules or limitations. So TSA will give you the maximum that you are allowed to take with you, and airlines can put on more limitations. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that if you have loose batteries have to go only on carry-ons, and that is because your carry-on goes to the main cabin of the aircraft, and the main cabin gets pressurized, so you won't have those changes in temperature and pressure when traveling as opposed to the luggage cabin. So if you have battery in your luggage cabin, it can get really dangerous because you can have shifts in pressure and temperature that are very spontaneous, and that can cause battery spills or fires on your batteries. So on how to pack your batteries, you're not supposed to have batteries that are on contact with other batteries. You're supposed to have batteries isolated. So if you have a camera bag, you probably won't have any problems. So you can put each battery on their own compartment within the bag, and you won't have any problem. So if you're not traveling with a camera backpack or a hard case that you can have batteries isolated, I would recommend that you get these lipo safe bags for your batteries. So if you see this lipo safe bag, I have one for each of my loose batteries, and that way, if I have any spills, it is contained within the bag. These bags also limit the amount of oxygen that gets into the bag. So if there's something wrong with the battery, it won't catch fire because you need oxygen to have a fire. So by limiting the amount of oxygen inside the bag, you are onto a safer flight. So another thing that is just common sense, as you know, these DJI batteries have a controlled discharge mechanism. So if you charge your battery full today and if you wait 24 hours and you don't use it, it will automatically discharge to 95%. And also the batteries have another mechanism to reduce charge within for the amount of days that you decide to discharge to approximately 60%. So that only tells you that when storing batteries is safer if they are not fully charged. But what happens if you have a fully charged battery and you have to rush out? So I have these power bank adapter for the battery that you can put on the battery and use it as a power bank, and it fits very easily on your batteries, and you can connect up to two USB chargers, and you can reduce the battery charge very easily. I have seen people that just take off the propellers of the drone and turn on the drone, and that will cause stress into your drone. So if you don't have to give your drone undue stress, well, don't do it. Just buy this. This is like $14-15, so it's pretty cheap, and you can use it as a power bank. And I'm telling you, is a really good way to discharge your batteries without having to wait for the internal mechanism of the battery. So I just want to say that during my travel, I went through 3 different checkpoints and I didn't have any trouble going through security. I had my batteries on my LiPo safe bags. I had one battery installed in the drone, and I was within the limit of the airlines, and I was within the limits of TSA, so I didn't have any trouble. So let me know if you before have had any trouble traveling with a drone. Just remember, always use your common sense and always follow your airline policy. So thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this video. If you want to see my drone love videos, you can click on the box here. If you want to see my remote ID series, you can click in the box here. So see you next time and safe travels.